Good morning. My name is Jason Crocht. I'm the pastoral intern here at Cornerstone Community Church with your Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. Last week, for those of you who caught it, I discussed Psalm 1 and the importance of obeying God and the further importance of delighting in that obedience. Today, I want to dive a bit deeper into that truth. I wonder how many of you have heard of the importance of backing up what we say with action. James describes something similar in his epistle. He describes how important it is to back up what we hear, specifically what we hear from God's Word, with action. He describes the importance of a living faith, a faith that isn't merely assent or belief, but action that springs from that belief. Today we're going to be in James chapter 1, verses 21 to 25. Therefore, lay aside all filthiness and overflow of wickedness, and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your souls. But be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man observing his natural face in a mirror. For he observes himself, goes away, and immediately forgets what kind of man he was. But he who looks into the perfect law of liberty and continues in it, and is not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this one will be blessed in what he does. Now, it might be helpful for me to relate to you some insights I gained from this text, specifically some parallels I drew between our text today and Psalm 1. Both of these texts describe the importance of obeying God, of delighting in that obedience, and of living for Him. They also describe the two paths we can take. In Psalm 1, it was the path of the wicked and the path of the righteous. Here, in James, it's the path of the doers and that of the hearers. Further, both of these texts refer to a blessing that those who act in obedience to God will receive. Now, jumping off of that, mere intellectual assent is easy. It's easy to simply believe something, to simply believe some point of doctrine or some attribute of God. James will describe that even the demons can do this. Even the demons have sound and right doctrine regarding God. But doctrine alone isn't true faith. True faith springs from doctrine, true faith relies on doctrine, but it is not solely doctrine. You see, true faith will always produce action. As I said, it will always be a living faith. It will go beyond your intellectual assent into loving God, into obeying Him, because that is what it means to walk in the law of liberty. See, this law frees us from bondage to sin, but it also frees us from bondage to man-made rules and regulations. Jesus describes this law and the entirety of the Old Testament laws, the entirety of God's law, as hanging on two commandments. First, to love the Lord your God above all else. And second, to love your neighbor as you love yourself. In obeying these two commandments, you will be obeying the entirety of the law. And that is what the law can be summed up as. Love. That is what God commands of us, to love. Not to keep a long list of rules and regulations imposed by men and man-made institutions, but to love God and to love each other. But James goes further than this. He goes beyond that. Even more, he describes by analogy what it means to be a hearer and not a doer. He describes the foolishness of looking at yourself in the mirror and then immediately forgetting what you look like. Now, we can easily see that this is a foolish thing to do. But he goes on to apply this same level of foolishness to someone who reads God's Word, who hears it preached, but who doesn't take action from it, who doesn't love from it. And that is equally foolish to do. It is equally foolish to study deeply, to drink deeply of God's truth, and to not let any fruit be produced. Because you see, that is what God commands of us. As I said before, this law that He wants us to do is the law of liberty. It frees us from sin, and it frees us from man-made rules. Because all it calls us to do is to love. So look to that law. Look to the law of liberty, the law of Christ, the law of love, and be blessed in all that you do. Thank you. May God bless you.